So we're going to take a look at our TFE drain build. We've decided to go with the Fleet Advanced Research Vessel. We have overall 738 drain. Let's take a look at how we got there. First up front, we're using the Quantum Phase Torpedo. One of the biggest things for DPS that we're using in here is Quantum Phase Transfer that comes from this set. So we're using all three pieces. We have the Hyper Dual Refracting Tetron Beam Bank. This is the dual beam that comes from the Nakura Rep. We've decided to go in that direction because that mixed with the console, which is the particle converter, gives us a two-piece that's plus 17.8 to Starship Drain. It's also giving us Tetrion damage. Over here we have another dual Tetrion. This one is from the Nakura store, but you can go craft it if you want. Deflector, we've gone Terran Task Force Deflector. It gives us plus 60 to drain. It also gives us a little bit to shield cap, a little bit to control, scientific readiness. Now we're using this because the two-piece with the impulse is going to also give us some drain as well as a little shield cap. Secondary deflector, we just went with a deteriorating, just looking for drain X on it. Reason we went deteriorating, just to trigger it with the tachyon beams we're using. For a warp core, we went with the Delta Alliance Trajector warp core. This warp core is giving us a boost to drain. Pretty much everything we have is trying to work toward that goal. It has a trajector jump. If you use this trajector jump when you have a bomb, you will lose it, so make a note on that. For shields, we have the Temporal Defense Initiative, also giving us boost to drain. Aft weapons, we went KCB, Butterfly, Tetrion Omni, and the Quantum Phase Beam in the back. For engineering, we have RCS with, you guessed it, Drain X, Quantum Phase Converter. We have the Rule 62 Multi-Purpose Combat. This is a low-buy console. It's giving us drain, power transfer, mine, and torpedo damage. If you don't have the low-buy, if you don't have this console, you can swap it out for the 0 point, which will also give us drain. And then we have the Plasmonic Leech, which is definitely giving us a good amount of power on hit. In science, I've decided to go with the Particle Focuser, Drain X2. Now, some people, if you have the Embassy consoles, either nullifiers or amplifiers with drain, that would work. This is obviously times 2, so it's giving us a good amount more per console. Here we have the Nakura Particle Converter, like we talked about. And then here we have the Tachyon Particle Field Emitter. This is the console from this C-Store version of this shit. Under skills, we're basically going with just your normal Psi Ultimate. We have Temporal Operative, Primary, Strategy, Secondary. For traits, we have a Good Day to Die, Particle Manipulator, what should be Beam Training. We have Inspirational Leader, Superior Astrophysicist. This is from K13. Regular Astrophysicist would work. This is pretty much the only trait we have that's actually boosting our drain. Going Operative, Point Blank Shot, Self-Modulating Fire, Fleet Coordinator, pretty much some basic stuff. Starship Traits, we have Emergency Weapon Cycle, Invincible, All Hands on Deck. Then we have Cryonic Siphon, which is from the Breen Bolog. This is giving us negative 15 all damage when using Energy Siphon, and also increasing damage to target shields by 20%. The Tzenkethi have a lot of shield hardness, so that's definitely helpful. Then we have Tachyon Dispersal. Whenever you use Tachyon Beam, negative 25% shield hardness. Well, Tachyon Beam is channeled. Then after 4 seconds, depleting shield, negative 2000, and negative 25% shield hardness for 10 seconds. For Space Rep, we got some of the basics. We have Precision, Crit Chance, we got Crit Severity, Auxiliary Power to Offense. Then we're running Chrono Capacitor, plus 7.5% Bridge Officer Ability Recharge. And then Torpedo Astrometric Synergy. Whenever you use a Torpedo Bridge Officer ability, you reduce the remaining recharge of Science Bridge Officer abilities by 15%. Comes in handy. This and Chrono Capacitor and All Hands on Deck, really just trying to get down our Science abilities on as low of a cooldown as we can. For Bridge Officers, we're running kind of a little bit of a Drake build. We have 2 damage control engineers, emergency con hologram to reset evasive maneuvers when we hit emergency powered engines. That comes in really handy because this build I find can do both defense and run bombs. When I run bombs, I usually like to use the pilot ship, just the maneuverability, I love it, but this ship can work. 2 projectile weapons officers to reduce recharge time on torpedoes, and then research lab scientist, tachyon beam pulls your target closer. Some people use tractor beam repulsor, either with Gragamal or without. I find that this is more helpful because it pulls one target, so I could really select who I want to pull. I could pull the battleships away from the cruisers, so I find that to be really nice. Last, let's just look at our stations. We're just using spread with chemo for the quantum phase torpedo. We're using directed energy mod, aux to SIF. We have our emergency powered engines and aux for our little Drake setup. We have the endothermic inhibitor beam. This is from the winter store. It's going to increase damage to target shields and throw down a little radiation. Temporal ability, we're using shared fate. It's going to drain shields, obviously very nice. Everything we have pretty much is working toward that goal of either draining shields or increasing damage to shields. For science, we're using charge particle burst 3, tachyon beam 3, energy siphon 1, tachyon beam 1 down here, and then just the hazard emitters. So there's a few different directions you can go. Just from what I found, when you go for a heavier drain build, a build that's more built directly to take on the Tzenkethi, I find that the numbers are better. I've put out anywhere between 60 to almost 70. Some people I play with that have similar builds, just different variations, I've seen up to almost 80k. I've run a build that was more so a high-end ISA build, a Psi Scimitar, was able to do between 50 to 60. That can still work. You just have more options, I think, when you go in the direction of the drain, especially if you have a couple of guys on the map doing it. It helps the team. It gets through the map a little faster.